So entering the draft, you feel as though the Dolphins, Chris Grier, Stephen Ross, Mike McDaniel had pretty much the same mantra that all the other teams had. Let's do what the Eagles have done and let's fortify the trenches. The game is won in the trenches. We've got enough skill players, at least for now. Let's get some big uglies. The big uglies were sexy in this past draft. It was very obvious early and often, outside of Cam Ward getting taken number 1. And of course, Travis Hunter getting taken number 2. It seemed to be big guy after big guy after big guy after big guy. And why not? It's tried and true over all the times in football. And Chris Grier had a little extra to maybe fortify the trenches after the comments last year and the laughing at the media and saying, I think you guys are more worried about the offensive and defensive lines than we are. And then he ended up getting laughed at. So this year, the Dolphins made somewhat of an effort to make sure that that offensive defensive line very much fortified. In fact, Chris Grier spoke with the media after the first day or two of the draft and basically said the focus of this draft, you guessed it, the trenches.
Maybe. I mean, it's just they're good football players at the end of the day. We had talked about a lot of things that, Mike wanted to do and us is working through it with the staff and the scouts, what we were looking for. And they both happen because they're both big and they're both powerful guys. So adding that to the O-line and D-line was, we felt that was very important through this process. So at the end of the day, we'll take anyone that we feel is a good player that will potentially start for us. But, yeah, adding size and some youth to those groups is very important.
Chris Grier just can't help himself, Vlad. If you're a good player, we'll take you, though. It doesn't matter. Got to address some needs, man. And, it's good to hear. It's good to see that he did do that, though. He didn't go after maybe some type of shiny toy again and saying, he was the highest on our draft board. It's like, nope. First and foremost, we got to address defense and offensive line. It's exactly what Chris Grier did. And he kind of admitted, they're great players, but we really needed to focus on the trenches. And Mike McDaniel, kind of echoing those sentiments, was asked, is the team starting to focus a little bit more on the trenches?
I think Chris and I are, we're in step and maybe because there's opportunities to add players to contribute to your football team. And these opportunities, you can do a lot of different things with them. I think we're more active in how can we make our team better, and sometimes you fill those needs in different ways. It's all about how the presentation shapes out, the things that are available, and making decisions off that, and being able to adjust. Because one thing we'll try to do is evaluate all of the players and not just get honed in on one. You can get some trouble there. So we'll just play it out, but feel extremely, feel very good about where we're at right now as we've seen the players, how stuff has come off, and excited about the upcoming picks for sure.
So I think he was asked
y'all getting sick and tired of these long answers, right?
Wait, I think because I kind of got lost and forgot what was going on there because Mike McDaniel wasn't really making any sense whatsoever. I think he was asked,
when has he?
If the team is focused on improving the trenches. He kind of humbled and bumbled around. Then he gave you an answer. He said, maybe. Then he humbled and mumbled around about all types of weird. What was that?
I don't know. You've been used to this for the last 3 years.
I really got
I guess
confused.
when you're winning, it's McGenius, McNerd, and all of that. But then now, when you start hearing this is the type of stuff that maybe is why Jalen Ramsey wants to bounce.
He was asked a question.
It's a simple question.
Starting to focus on more of the trenches.
It's a simple yes or no question.
And he said maybe. Leave it at that. And then he went on about talking about players, and we can do a lot of different things with them. Like what? You think you're going to get Kenneth Grant to play tight end too? Like what is? And I don't want to make this about Mike McDaniel spewing nonsense, but that really, he needs to tighten that up, man. It
was spewing nonsense. All right.
That's nuts. Okay. Mercifully, I hate to say it. I never thought I'd say it. Let's get back to Chris Grier speaking, who might actually form an answer. He was asked about Kenneth Grant, our number one overall pick, not overall, number one first round, 13th overall pick from the University of Michigan. What he on this defensive line helps us do.
No, excited about it, obviously. He's, again, someone we spent a lot of time with to get to know because he's a good football player. Him and Mason in there together, they did a good job the last 2 years. They're a hard team to run the ball on. He played against a lot of good players that have been drafted, and even the guys in practice there at Michigan's offensive line the last few years has been really good. And so the kid just turned 21 years old. So just think there's a huge upside with the room he's going into with Zach and the guys that work, and with Weaver and Austin Clark, who are great teachers and great motivators. And when he came here, that was the one thing. He was, after he met those guys and got to sit in with Mike and I for about a half hour or so, and he was really excited. And so when we called, he was like, you guys are making me nervous. He's like, are you calling to draft me? And so very excited to have him, and we think he'll be a great addition.
We like the draft pick right there.
I like the first 2 picks, man.
I do. And you address needs that you absolutely have to address, and the rest of the league is addressing them too, to be honest with you.
I think it's really weird, right? At the end of last season, maybe because of the way the Eagles, shout out to Trevor and all the Eagle fans, even though we don't like the Eagles, but you got to give them their props. Howie Roseman is the best general manager in the game, and it's shocking, I guess, because of the way the tenor that the Eagles beat the Chiefs. If it was a close game, you know what I'm saying? But because they just like boat raced them, you saw that everybody had to get an offensive lineman, had to get a defensive lineman, had to get a tight end. If you needed one of those special tight ends that can catch the ball and also run block, you had to get them. You had to add those type of players to your roster. And that's what we saw.
And I think this is one of the things general managers are at least understanding now. Now, it could change next year. For a while there was the whole, we got to find the needle in the haystack. We got to find the diamond in the rough. We got to find the Patrick Mahomes, the 1 in a million guy, the Jaden Daniels that'll change our thing. Or you can go with a more steady plan, like fortifying the lines, where it's a more sure thing, where you keep fortifying your offensive and defensive line. You win in the trenches. It's an easier recipe to winning than just getting lucky or hitting on a guy.
And the thing about it is, all right, so for example, and I know I mentioned this earlier, it's time for him to take the Huggies off. But if Patrick Paul hits, you're talking about, right, what is he now, 21?
Yeah, he's
22?
Young guy.
He's like, yeah. You're talking about a young offensive lineman that if he hits, you got a guy for the next 10 to 15 years protecting your quarterback.
You start looking at it, let's say Patrick Paul hits, Austin Jackson comes back and gets healthy. And then you, let's say, also hit on our second round draft pick, Jonah Savinaya.
That means in the last 2 years, you would have drafted 60% of your offensive line. And to me, if you have 2 ends that are legit, you can easily fill in the middle with the centers and guards. You can get that. You can draft guys later around. But when you have early offensive tackles, both on the left and the right, that are legit staunch blocking, pass blocking, run blocking tackles, you do not understand the levity that you have offensively to execute, to run your, oh my God, it's so key. That's why the Jets were smart when they drafted Armand Menbu. They already drafted Olu last season. So then they have their tackles set. The Patriots have always done that. When you have those ends set, it really, really, really makes the offense so easy to run.
Of course, you get a chance to run the ball, control the clock, but also you give Tua time to throw, and you also give time for patterns to develop from guys like Tyreek.
Not worried as a quarterback. You're not worried, and we already know he has a quick release, but you're not really worried. I got to get it now before I get hit. You know that those 2 guys. You have Patrick. You have you have Austin. If they can protect them, then it's great. And then now you put Jonah in, you don't have to worry about Eichenberg. So now you have 60% of your offensive line if it hits.
And now you're hoping to hit on your defensive line. You got Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. He is a 13th
And you got
overall
Zach.
pick. You've got Zach Sealer in there. You can't forget about Chop Robinson, who you got last year. You're hoping for help from Bradley Chubb
And Jalen Phillips.
And Jalen Phillips. Those guys start hitting. That's the difference between being a 6, 7, 8 win team to a 11, 12 win team right there. So a lot on the line. We'll see how they all play out. Chris Grier, though, talking about Kenneth Grant. Why 13th overall, and why did he pick him over some other types of position players?
For us, D tackle is a big need, a big nose tackle, obviously. But we don't view him as just a run stopper. We do think he has ability to generate, and you've heard us talk with the pass rush. It's not always about sacks. The ability to push the pocket in the middle is a huge thing in the NFL now. And we think he has tremendous work ethic and upside to do that. So we got to know him through the process, the pro day. And so, again, this was a player we're very excited to add.
So it's the guy they wanted, apparently, and they're looking for him to not just be a great pass blocker. They're looking for him to team up with Zach Sealer and also be a lot like Zach Sealer in getting to the quarterback. I thought he did say something interesting, though, Vlad. He goes, we don't consider sacks a representation of the pass rush. Obviously.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Turnovers last year.
Hold on. No. Now they don't see sacks as a thing.
Oh no, but Christian
But
Wilkins,
Christian
it was.
Wilkins.
Last year they were very bad with sacks and turnovers. So Anthony Weaver's defense isn't about big gaudy numbers. It's about pressure and stuff like that. I don't know, but nonetheless, they addressed some needs. They did get some secondary guys, safety guys. They did get this offensive and defensive line hopefully somewhat shored up. They sound like they really wanted to get Kenneth Grant in there. They obviously traded up for Jonah Savinaya, and we'll see how the rest of it hits. But Chris Grier, be warned, you are on the chopping block if things do not go right this season. Then again, everybody kind of went for the big uglies this year. Will Campbell, man, LSU guy, going 4th to New England, by the way. Remember there was a time when they thought he was going to go 13th to the Dolphins?
Listen, there was a chance the kid from Michigan, Grant's teammate, was going to drop down to the Dolphins.
Right. Then everybody reassessing.
I would tell you the kid from Michigan that I was shocked, and maybe it was a good thing the Dolphins didn't do it, even though the Dolphins are usually the team that does it. I'm shocked.
The cornerback?
They didn't. Yeah, Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. We all know that they need cornerback help right now, and I saw him dropping. So
once again, we get defensive tackle guard, another defensive tackle, cornerback. We need help there, especially with whatever's going to happen with Jalen Ramsey, and then all we have is Kader Kahu, Cam Smith, who I've pretty much given up hope on, and Storm Duck. You got a safety, of course. We lost Javon Holland, he's left in free agency. A running back in Ollie Gordon the second. Vlad, you like him out of Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, Des Bryant thinks he's going to be the next Dan Marino. And then Zeke Biggers, I can be honest with you, a defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. I don't know much about Zeke Biggers, but he's a late 7th round pick. So if you get anything out of him, not bad. But that's the other thing. Like, well, why are we trading a 6th round pick? It's like, I mean, I'm sorry. Oh, Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. Okay.